Hakapu village preparation for its 50th Jubilee is in full swing, with side events yesterday to commemorate the journey of the gospel and recognition of its rich history. Church Minister Reverend Inga Mokole said his aspirations is to encourage the young generation to embrace and respect the historical facts, but at the same time work to adapt to the change of times.
It's quite emotional feelings of this celebration, because we are looking back at 50 years behind us in terms of last week. On Monday this week, we focus on the stone that our tupuna laid before they built the church as a symbol of blessings and a symbol of empowerment for the young generation, or as a sign that this is a holy place, that this is a place where we can come to for spiritual rejuvenate. In reflecting all those years of how our tupunas, the forefathers, have nurtured and put God first in their lives, and let alone they sent some people up to Mutalo, to Uruwe, to Fupiu, to look for that good news, or look for that hakupu atua, any words of God. And it's all emotions in terms of all those things. And look at the northern side of the church, that we have the Anzac Day memorial plaque there as well, remembering those people who offer their life or give their life for the peace of the world, for you and me today.
He says the Jubilee should be a bridging stone for all Hakapu descendants, and excitedly, it is a time of celebrations.
How for us to reconnect with one another in terms of enhancing the relationship between the village and the people on the island, the Hakupu who lives on the island, and the people, and the Hakupu people who lives outside on the island. Because at the end of the day, we have to be all come together as one in unity. The story of Jesus, that's why Mary and Joseph went back, because of the generation, and knowing one another, that will strengthen or build a relationship with one another, in knowing, in supporting is very important, because we're building nations, we're building community. That's the words of the Urumutua, is we're building the village.
Village elder and Member of Parliament for Hakapu, Honourable Young Vivian, supports the acknowledgements by Reverend Mokole, and added that in order for a person to find his path and know one's place in life, it is paramount that person identify his origin with pride. He says there is fragmentation with the young generation in the village, and that is where the community must build robust foundation to encourage youth participation, community involvement, and that will contribute to development of Hakapu and the island. Honourable Young Vivian also added that history plays a large role in the development and progression of Hakapu, and the emphasis must be focused on village unity, language and personal principles, and more so spiritual confidence. Hakapu village will host the island and all visitors on Saturday in what is expected to be an extravagant celebration. This morning, the police arrested and jailed a young man when his car crashed just behind the police station. According to Chief of Police Tony Edwards, the police is still to determine the cause of this morning's events.
The officers are still carrying out the investigation. We do understand that there's been a few incidents that's occurred from it. We've had a motor car accident between cars. We've also had a reckless driving, same car that's involved, and we've also had a willful damage, same person involved. So early this morning, 4 o'clock, this car has come down to Olofi, has collided with another vehicle, and has decided to some reason come around to the shop behind me and crash into it, and has walked out of his vehicle and went over to another business residence and smashed its windows. So same person, same incidents. Time is just not far apart from each other.
Chief Edwards also has advice for everyone on the island.
We continue to maintain that the warnings are out there. Be cautious about being on the road. The road belongs to everyone. It's for your safety. It's for my safety. Just be mindful of it, and that's all we ask. But if you step over the line, then there's consequences that will follow from behind. So my advice is for everyone is to be collective and calm when they're using their vehicles or wherever they are, and the main thing is to think before you decide.
That is Chief of Police Tony Edwards. Submissions to the portability of New Zealand super and war pension to Cook Island, Niue and Tokelau have now closed, and groups in New Zealand have met to prepare submissions or support individuals and groups to submit online. The bill makes some changes to current legislation regarding the eligibility for New Zealand super or war pension for those retiring to the realm islands of the Cook Islands, Niue and Tokelau. Currently, to be eligible for super in New Zealand, you must be over the age of 65, a New Zealand resident or citizen, resident and present in New Zealand for 10 years, from the age of 20, and have spent 5 of those years after the age of 50. The same applies for portability, except you can receive 50% of the super if you have lived in New Zealand for 10 years from age 20, and 100% of the super payment if you have lived in New Zealand for 20 years or more from age 20. And you must live in New Zealand when you apply for the super. The bill will allow people to be a resident in Niue, Cook Island or Tokelau at the time of application, and the application will stay live for longer than 20 days to allow for the potential increase in processing time. There is no backdating should you apply after the eligibility date. For example, you are after your 65th birthday, and you can apply before your eligible date, but payment won't commence until you reach your 65th birthday. The Social Service Select Committee is expected to hear all these submissions shortly. To end our news bulletin for tonight, Nera Rugby 9's league team was in the semi-finals and in Australia and is now considered as the dark horse of the tournament. Niue White 9's rugby team triumphed in the game against Papua New Guinea, one of the undefeated favourites of the tournament. They were beaten by 18-14 win to the Niue team, led by captains Michael Filimona and Seb Luisi, the achievement of making it into the semi-finals. Niue Blue made it into the quarter-finals, led by captains Freddie Hunuki and Lolu Ma'au. Since 2001, both teams have improved, but still have to work hard for the next tournament. The next main event is the South Pacific Games that will be held in PNG in July, where 3 medals are up for grabs. That's our news bulletin for tonight. Good evening.